All right, so in the last couple videos, we made these quick start versions of 2D and 3D games. So a 2D game, but with Pygame game engine, and a 3D game, a quick start built with Panda 3D, and just some basic background land images and a character moving around on top of it. Very rudimentary graphics. Just something to start with for both 2 and 3D versions. So nothing too fancy there. And I was thinking this would give us some images to test with. But then when I thought about it a little more, I think I want to go ahead and do animations. Some very simple rudimentary animations. Things, I guess animations as rudimentary as these characters. We didn't work any details. We just threw in something to test with. But now might be a good time to go over the steps for that, because just like the details on the images for the 2 and 3D imaging, it's just a matter of time. It's just time to do it. Spend a little time doing that, and same thing with animations. That's part of our images, so that takes a little bit of time and practice. So if we go over the steps now, then you can start practicing on that, so that by the time we get the finer details about the game engines worked in, you'll have some animations well underway and have had some practice with that. So let's look at the steps for that in both 2 and 3D animations, which does also involve a change from the earlier plan. Earlier I found this Python library and was going to use that to handle the skeleton structures on the 2D imaging, but we can do that in Blender as well, which I think might be better for the tutorial, because then our 2D and 3D images are done the same way. So we're using Inkscape, which deals with SVG graphics. That'll be important here in just a moment. And I did go ahead and change that back so SVG is open by default with Inkscape on my computer now. So I came in here and made a few modifications for the character. So see the getting started with Inkscape, if you need to watch that, it's just a couple videos back in the playlist. But basically we use the Bezier curve to set up a shape, and then once we created a shape, we went to object to fill in stroke options and then adjusted how it was filled in. Well, for the starting, just a simple color, and adjust the outlines. And for our start, just no outlines and everything. And we put these basic shapes together with the simple fill colors, selecting from the colors at the bottom. And got these SVG graphics. At that point, we can use these 2 tools up at the top. So we can select them and drag them out separately, which is why we need SVG as opposed to regular paint programs. It's like here, bring that back in. And here, in a regular paint program, if we drew a red shirt and then came back and drew an arm on top of it, we wouldn't still be able to access that entire red shirt object. So that's important for the 2D skeletal animations. We need each part as a separate piece. So Inkscape creates SVG graphics, and I did a little bit of modification. So I copied the arm. That way there's 2 arms. I guess I'll do something like this. I'll drag, whoops. That's not what I thought I had selected. Select the arm, maybe. One of them. Yeah, so I made a copy of the arm, and then under object, we can change the layer it's on, bring it up to the top so it's in front of everything, lower it to the bottom so it's behind everything, and adjust the layer that each piece is on until we get it looking like we want it. I also modified the legs, so instead of just one object there, I split it up into 3 separate ones: a left leg, a right leg, and some hips, and that'll be better for the animations. And then we'll put a simple skeleton in it. Then we'll have a thigh and shin bones, and move those to make it look like it's walking. And again, upper arm and lower arm bone that will move those around, and then our image here will just stretch and rotate with the bones. So let's look at how to do that. Once we have this, go ahead and save this. With our SVG file, we can go over to Blender. In a new Blender file, toggle through the selection tools and delete that stuff that's there. We can come over to File and import an SVG file, Scalable Vector Graphics. So now we just navigate to where that folder, that image is at. There it is. And it brings it in very, very small because we didn't have any size data. Well, a couple things. So you'll notice that everything's at the same layer. If I zoom way in, you can't tell that better. See how the arms all blended in with the shirt? So we'll separate that in a moment. It looks like I put it on the XY plane. So to look down from the top, I'm going to click the Z navigation thing. So now we're looking from the top. It's all very small. And it brought it in as curves. We need to work with meshes. So we'll select one of them. You have to make sure there's one selected, and then drag around to select the rest of them. And if we go to Object, make sure you're in Object mode, and then Object, there's an option for Convert To, and we can convert to a mesh from a curve. So when we click that, now we have a bunch of mesh objects that will bend and warp and stretch with the bone structure we attach them to. So I'm going to select everything because we're really, really small here. And I'm going to turn it into one single object. Well, I'm not going to turn it into a single object yet. Before we turn it into a single object, I want to separate that arm thing so those aren't at the same layer. So, or at the same level. First off, I'm going to scale it up though. So we grab the measuring tool here. It came in at 0.03. So awful small on our scale, which is set to meters, but we probably want a big image to work with. That way our zoom and rotate controls seem to have more control on big things than on small things turn quickly, I guess. So with everything selected, if we push S, we can scale it out. And maybe I'll do that a couple times. So get out something like this. As I zoom out further, just scale it out a couple times. Push S and drag your mouse to scale it. What's this say on our scale now? So 1.45 meters. Okay, so that's actually a really good scale, right about the size for humans. And before we turn this into one object to work with, I want to deal with the fact that all of these, if we look at our location transform, both arms and the torso all have are all on the same plane. So I'm just going to move the arms slightly. So which one's which? I think this is the right arm, the one towards us. So I'm going to change the Z transform to 0.1 to move it towards us. And on the other one, I'll move that to like negative 0.1 to move it away from us slightly. And that way all three of those aren't at the same plane. So now I'll select all these, and we can just push A to select everything that's showing, and then Control J to join those into a single mesh. So now we have a single object which we can call character mesh, and it brought the material data in with it. If you have more, so it brought our materials in, so we have our colors and everything, all the shapes, and we can go in edit mode and still get to every vertex and make adjustments if we needed to. But with just a couple clicks, we were able to bring that whole image in. And Inkscape has a lot of tools for putting together 2D graphics. So you can put together some really nice graphics and then just import the SVG file into Blender and convert those curves to meshes, then make any adjustments like I did on the arm there to bring the right arm towards us and the left arm away from us. And I need to undo something real quick. I didn't mean for those hands to be that close, so I'm going to separate that a little more. But then once you have it set up like you want, select everything and hit Control J to join it to a single image. And now we have a mesh that we can add a skeleton to and move these pieces around. But we want to watch out for things like what happened here. It joined those hands into a single thing. So I'm going to hit undo a couple times until undo that join. There we go. And take one of these and move, I guess I'll move that up. So grab the move tool and move it up. That way it won't, when we animate the hands, they won't obviously drag the other one with them. So now doing that again, hit A to select everything, Control J to join it, then I'll rename it character. Now we're ready to start working with this mesh. Put a skeleton in it and then animate it by moving the skeleton, and the skin will just follow. We'll do that in the next video.